Howell is absent with notice, as well as Gingell. Gershenson?
Here.
Jackson?
Here.
McGilvray is absent with notice. Nelson is absent with notice. Cavell is on his way. Joliet?
Here.
And Lubes.
Here.
We don't yet have a quorum.
All right, we don't have a quorum, but we're going to move forward with our presentation after the Pledge of Allegiance. So please join me in rising for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. So, one item that we're not voting on is a presentation by the Oakland Conservation District, although we might receive and file the information when we have a quorum. So do we have
Come on
Patrick
up.
here? Oh, thank you, welcome.
Well, thank you. Want me to sit over here?
Yes, please, yep,
Okay.
yep, that's perfect.
Thank you. Well, I just want to I want to first say thank you for allowing us to spend a few minutes. I will not take a lot of your time. But I just want to, my name is Patrick Costello. I'm chairman of the board of the Oakland Conservation District. I've been involved with the district since 2007. Along with me today is our district administrator. He's been on staff for a little over a year now. And so, again, thank you for inviting us. I have a first question is, I'm interested in how many here are aware of the Oakland Conservation District or have knowledge of who we are and some of the things we do. And that's why we're very excited to be here today. And I invite, I'll leave some of my business cards. If any of you want to learn more and hear more about us, I invite you to give us a call because the district has been in existence here in Oakland County since 1945, believe it or not. Some of the challenges over the years in the last 20, 25 years have really been funding for districts across the state of Michigan. In 2022, the state of Michigan finally stepped up and approved an administrative grant for all 72 districts across the state of Michigan. So we now, and that's one reason we now have an administrator in our office. And some of our goals, so you know, really our priorities, really we have water quality is probably near the top. Invasive species is another one. Soil health, soil erosion, and then wildlife habitat here in Oakland County. Whether it's controlling it or increasing, things like that. We spend time, and I'm probably jumping around from the slides, but just to take a look at what I'm supposed to be talking about. Let's see, I talked about that, who we are. And also, I just for those that are interested, there was a handout of who we are that is a much broader description. We work with a number of federal programs through the Natural Resources Conservation Services for grant. We work with landowners in cost share programs. One of our major goals is to bring more federal dollars here to Michigan. With the Conservation District in Oakland County here, we've not been real successful with that. Not having an administrator, not having an employee. Probably 99% of the grants that we apply for as a cost share. So in order to qualify for the grant, we had to have an employee. Well, we haven't had an employee for many, many, many years until 2022. So we're hoping to be able to drive more federal dollars here into the county. There's a statistic out there from MDARD that states for every dollar that a district brings into the county, it's compounded by 4 for the cost share programs and additional resources that come into the county. Different partnerships we have. We work closely with the Oakland Farmers Market in doing educational programs, whether it be invasive species. We do a free well water testing for nitrates and nitrites at the farmers market that is very involved and good participation. We talk about monarch butterflies and native plants, the importance of native plants to Michigan, native versus non-native, that sort of thing with the farmers market. We work with some of the schools. We have a number of programs coming up. Oakland University, we're doing one, and what's that one involved in some of the others that we're involved in?
We're going to the Oakland University, the Clinton River Water Festival. We're doing Green Fest at the Detroit Zoo.
Sorry.
And then we're going to, we went to Cranbrook Institute of Science last week for their event there. And then we'll do the Rouge River Water Festival in the fall.
So, and I point that out is prior to having Alex on board, we were a all-volunteer. We have a 5-member board, and no one gets paid. Alec is the only paid employee that we have now. And I just, like I said, I wanted to keep it short, share a little information about who we are, what we're doing, and I just would invite any questions that any of you have at this time.
Can you tell us about the tree and shrub sale?
Oh, I'd love to talk about the tree and shrub sale. This year is going to be a record year. We're going to be selling, we have orders for almost 11,000 trees and shrubs.
Wow.
I will say 90% of those will be planted here in Oakland County. We have a few orders that come in from Wayne and Macomb, but those are very limited. We've been doing the tree and shrub sale for many, many, many years. It is our major fundraiser that we have that assists in doing some of the things that we've been doing for the many years prior to Alec coming on board. It is a major undertaking. I invite any of you to, I know I've sent out our newsletter on an annual basis to all the commissioners. I know I've had some responses from a few of you of interest in it, so I thank you for your responses. But we try 90% of the trees and shrubs that we sell are native to Michigan. There are a few that are non-natives, but it's just the demand for some of the non-natives outweighs the whether it be a native or non-native, and it's definitely not an invasive at all.
Are we still able to order the trees and shrubs?
Our cutoff date was the 7th of April. Sorry to say. Now, if there's something you're specifically interested in, if you look at the order form, and if we still have them available, we can work with you. But because of the nurseries, they have cutoff dates for adding or changing our order form based on the demand that we have for that year. But we do have a few species of trees still available that we have not sold. We have the opportunity to sell the excess at the farmers market the week following our pickup, which is the 29th of April. All of the trees and shrubs come from Michigan nurseries. None come from out-of-state nurseries, so I'm proud to say that we're not going out of the state of Michigan to get our trees and shrubs. They all come from the west side of the state, large nurseries over there. One nursery that we get quite a few trees and shrubs is a conservation district. They own their own nursery that huge parcels of land were donated to them years ago, so little information. We send out the tree and sale, our newsletter announcing the tree and shrub sale in January, so a couple reminders that go out during that time, but yeah, we have a cutoff date, which was April 7th. We have over 300 orders this year.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
What about the educational programs?
The various educational programs, we continue for outreach. We've been limited in what we could do in the past years, but now with Alec, we're able to reach out and talk to some of the schools. We're hoping to do some education on importance of soils and types of soils, and that's one of the things we do at Oakland University. I think it's fifth graders that come through, and we show them what happens when you have a soil that has been affected by erosion. There's no root structure to the soils, and how when water drains, it just drains and it's very dirty and it's not filtered, versus a soil condition where there's a lot of root structure, the water's being filtered, and how much clearer that water is. It's just trying to, so that's, and I think that's going to be some of our priorities this year in bringing that type of education. We've worked with the library in Clarkston in identifying various trees and the leaves. So, and they've had Implin, they have a walking trail behind the library there, and they were an explanation of what the tree was and what the leaf looks like to try and identify the different species of trees in that trails that they have. Let's see, can you think of any other?
We do a backyard habitat program.
Okay, that's-
In Waterford, and then we're moving to Berkeley to try to get southern Oakland County involved as well, where I get like 9 to 10 residents in Oakland County there, and we talk about their soil, all the trees on their property, and then we make a plan together and help them implement it to plant more natives, remove invasives, and just teach everybody about everything and pollinators.
Would you ever consider having a table at a farmer's market that's not Oakland County Farmer's Market?
Oh, we've
Oh, yes.
thought about it.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
just the amount of people. So
Yeah.
if I can get more volunteers, then yes.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Yeah, that's our challenge as volunteers. With Alec being able to coordinate some of these things, it's really lifted the opportunities. I've talked a number of times with the farmers market in Farmington Hills. We've just not been able to coordinate dates appropriate for their schedule, our schedule, and that's the other part of the coordination of dates when they want us there.
Okay.
Because we're on the second Saturday right now at the Oakland Farmers Market, and we really don't want to change that.
All right,
So-
thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Juliet?
So you offer, obviously, a lot of community outreach programs. Are they posted in your newsletter? Is that how the public finds out about
Yeah.
them?
We post them in a newsletter on our website, Facebook, and that's how we.
So how do you get signed up for, I'm guessing you have people that are signed up for the news. Are they
Oh, yeah.
electronic or are they mail?
Yeah, they're email,
Okay,
yeah.
You can go to our website and there's a form you can fill out,
There's-
and then it just signs you up for it automatically.
okay.
Yep.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank
I
you.
appreciate it. I appreciate the opportunity. I thank you, and if any of you have individual questions, please don't hesitate to give us a call.
I will. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a wonderful meeting.
Thank you.
Hopefully.
Well, without our quorum, the other item on our agenda we are able to move forward with is public comment for items on the agenda. So is anybody from the public wishing to talk about items on our agenda? All right, the first public comment is closed. So we will be in recess for a moment.
They wanted to jump.
Oh,
They weren't-
I'm sorry. Our public comment for items on the agenda is open. So I would ask you come to the front of the table and state your name and community you're from, and you have 3 minutes.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Does this one work? Okay, yeah, they all got the green lights. I'm Trina, I'm a resident of Royal Oak, and have lived there for about 7 years. And so I wanted to just talk with you all and learn a little bit more about the role that you all play in mental health in our county. I've got a kid with a SCD waiver. Does anybody know what that is?
Yes. But
So
I'm sorry,
it's-
you have 3 minutes to comment. Ben, public comment is not meant for us to respond. It's not a question and answer period, but after the meeting, we may be able to talk.
Okay. So that's a severe emotional disturbance waiver. And so that's the highest level of support that a kid can get in a home. And so after that, the child would need to be hospitalized, right, or some other form of out-of-the-home placement. So I've had a kid in my home who essentially, so kind of imagine the folks that are in our psych facilities, right? But he's in my home all day, every day. He's 11. He's been bounced around to a few schools because, of course, many times the schools respond with discipline, often because they don't have the resources or the understanding around mental health, right? Our schools were not set up to be mental health facilities. They were set up to be learning facilities. And so I'm really, and as a family that has operated within OCHN for about 7 years now, and have exhausted every type of complaint you can imagine, right? We've done it all. I've talked to everyone. I've requested to talk to the people that are their bosses. And I'm now coming to you all saying that the services in this county are not working for families that need them. We have extreme behaviors in our homes, and we call the crisis line. And guess what the crisis line tells us to do? Call the police. So then I call the police. Or I do an intake with OCHN, of which a CPS complaint then gets filed because of things that OCHN, right, has to report. And so now I know the detectives at the, Royal Oak Police Department. So I get all these folks coming to my house, and then they say, oh, well, yeah, you just have to take him to the hospital. The whole purpose of the severe emotional disturbance waiver is to try to create the supports in our homes to support our children so they don't have to go to the hospital. Because frankly, drugging up my kid and, putting him to a bed is actually not fixing the extreme trauma and abuse he has experienced in his lifetime. So I think what I'm requesting today is that, one, that we figure out a way to share more stories about the people that are serviced by OCHN, right? Because it is real, like, we have written joint letters, right? We have done all the things, and it is not working.
Thank you.
Okay?
Okay,
so-
I would like to point out and put you on the spot. There's a representative from OCHN over here. So perhaps after the meeting or now, you might want to talk in the hallway or after the
I've talked
meeting,
with
stay
so
here.
many people. I'm happy to talk with you.
Thank you.
Been there, done that.
Anyone else for public comment? Okay, yes.
Hi, good morning. Thank you for having me. My name is Shayna Lee. I live in Ferndale. I'm going to second everything that Trina just said, in that my daughter, who is 9 years old, is currently at the Hawthorne Center in Northville because of her severe emotional disturbances. And we've had the SED waiver on and off since she's 4 years old, when she came to live with me in foster care. She's since been adopted, but nonetheless. And the SED waiver has essentially provided us with nothing other than what we've already had, which has led to my daughter being hospitalized multiple times, brought to the ER multiple times due to safety issues in regards to her killing herself or trying to kill me. And so as I was walking here, the woman from OCHN said, yeah, I've heard you before. So I've tried all of these avenues, like Trina has stated, and yet it has all ended up with my daughter in the most restrictive psychiatric facility for children in the state, because the services that Oakland County has to keep my child with me either do not exist or are not entirely helpful. Due to the fact that there is a high turnover rate, so a lot of her therapists are brand new and do not understand how to treat complex trauma that my daughter has. And so again, similar to what Trina just said, I don't want to just repeat everything she said. Truthfully, there are not enough services and quality services through OCHN in particular, through community mental health, for complex children. So slapping on an SED and saying, oh, she's severely emotionally disturbed, but she's going to get the same thing that everyone else has, is not really fixing the problem. Or else I wouldn't end up in the ER with her constantly. And even in the hospital, they don't really know how to treat her, other than to say, like Trina suggested, let's tie her to a bed, which she has been tied to a bed. Or let's give her, they call it a booty shot. Let's shoot her up and just have her be a zombie for days on end. And this is, again, from the time she's 4 to 9. So she's a baby, right? She's in elementary school. She's a baby. And again, that's not fixing the problem. So then she comes home to me. We have OCHN again, and OCHN is not successful in treating my child. I'll call everyone loves to say, call the hotline, call the hotline, call the hotline, and they don't do anything. They just say, oh, Addison sounds like she can't talk right now. Yes, that's why I'm calling you. And they don't do anything other than say, bring her to the hospital. And then in the hospital, they don't know what to do, so they say, send her to Children's Village. I'm sorry, and that's all. I just wanted to bring my family to your attention because we're not being served properly.
Thank you.
Thank you.
for sharing your information. Anyone else for public comment? All right, public comment is closed. We move on to our regularly scheduled agenda items now. The first is approval of the minutes dated March 14th. Who would like to make a motion to approve the minutes? Or any changes first? All right. I have a motion by Commissioner Joliet, support from Commissioner Jackson. All in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Our minutes are approved. Moving to the agenda, requires approval of the agenda. I have a motion by Commissioner Gershenson, support from Commissioner, who would like to support that? Joliet, thank you. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, the agenda is approved. We move on to communications. We have 6 items under communications. The February report from our animal shelter. The second item is an application to the U.S. Department of Justice for the fiscal year 2023 Kevin and Avante program. The third is an amendment to the shelter care contract from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services. The next is Oakland Together Mental Health and Wellbeing Nonprofit Grant Program Quarter 2 report. The next item is acceptance of the Michigan Department of Licensing and Regulatory Affairs of the 2023 Michigan Medical Marijuana Operation and Oversight. And the last item is the quarterly report from Haven. Any comments on communications? Seeing none, I need a motion to approve. I have a motion by Commissioner Gershenson, support from Commissioner Jackson. All in favor of approving the communications, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Or communications are approved. We have had our presentation from the Oakland Conservation District, so we move on to the items from our prosecutor's office. The first is a request to use forfeiture funds, and the second is acceptance from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services Anti-Terrorism Emergency Assistance. And we have by video here, who do we have here? Mary Larkin? David Williams? No. No Mary Larkin?
Yep,
All right, thank you.
Mary here.
Do I have a motion for the prosecutor's office recommendation? I have a motion by Commissioner Gershenson, support from Commissioner Cavell. Thank you. What can you tell us about the forfeiture funds?
Good morning, I'm David Williams. I'm the Chief Assistant at the Prosecutor's Office. I'm joined by Betsy Haig. I think Mary Larkin's here on another matter. These are forfeiture funds that we can use to enhance any law enforcement purpose. When we arrived at the office had not had trainings for attorneys for over a decade, and we've been playing catch up. So the majority of these funds are so that we can send groups of prosecutors to various trainings with the National District Attorneys Association, the Prosecuting Attorneys Association of Michigan, and a newer entity, AIA, the Association of or APA, Association of Prosecuting Attorneys. We're also seeking funds to help get the word out about the prosecutors' commission to address gun violence. And Betsy, did I? Oh, and some funds, I think it's $30,000 for potential equipment purchases. I think last year we used the money to get newer, larger monitors for some of our staff that had very old, very small monitors.
That's correct. Thank you.
We're happy to take a question.
Are there any questions regarding this item? Commissioner Gershenson, followed by Commissioner Cavell.
Welcome. Good to see you all. Is
Thank
this forfeiture fund different than your forfeiture fund?
Well, it comes.
I'm sorry, you cut out at the very
I'm
end.
sorry. I was talking to the sheriff's department that is here, so I'm just a little confused on their forfeiture funds and your forfeiture funds.
So they had a member from their team on our, that participated in our net unit, and so they got a distribution. So at the end of the year,
I
when we
see.
distribute to all the local agencies, they got a portion of it as well. So that, it goes from the net fund into the prosecutor's office, so.
So would this be all, David? Do you have a balance, or is this your allocation?
We have a balance that was built up over that decade. I think the current amount before our request is almost $600,000.
Well, sounds like good use of the forfeiture funds. Thank you.
Commissioner Cavell.
Hi, David. Hi, Betsy. That $600,000 that's the total prosecutor allocation, and you're looking for $100,000 from that fund?
Yes. What we're trying to do is spread that over time. It's because it's primarily for training to meet needs. It can't be used to replace existing funds. So each year we try to identify a couple of projects we think we can do with part of the money.
Okay. And since you're here, can you talk a little bit more about that Gun Violence Commission, just since we're all here? Might be a good time to educate us, because you're going to use some of the money to educate the public.
Yeah, so I'm going to turn that over to Betsy. She's the co-chair of the commission. I know we're looking at a timeline to get a report out, and obviously, Commissioner Cavell, you're well familiar with it. Betsy, do you want to just say a few words?
Sure, David. So the prosecutor launched the Commission to Address Gun Violence in Oakland County in November of last year. The purpose is to create a comprehensive and data-driven protocol to address gun violence within our county and then more broadly. The commission is made up of 26 stakeholders from across the country and 7 working groups that are comprised of subject matter experts. So those working groups and stakeholders have been working diligently since November to form their recommendations, which will make up the protocol itself. So those working groups are centered around topics such as prevention, threat assessments, aftercare, anonymous reporting systems, bystander and community violence interrupters, tactical response to active violence, trauma response, and then gun violence and health inequality. So that those working groups are working on their recommendations. Those are due to us by May 8th, and then we will have the protocol. Our official deadline for that is July 14th.
Yeah. Anything
Thank
else,
you.
Commissioner Cavell?
Well, sure, yeah. I mean, should this committee expect there to be like a funding request TBD in the future based on this report, or is the protocol going to be something in-house that's already in your budget?
I appreciate you asking that question. So yes, you can expect a funding request. I will say we're also trying to raise funds outside of just county funds. The participation on the committee, as you know, is not just local to Oakland County, statewide, and actually nationally. Nicole Hockley of Sandy Hook Promise is on the commission. And so we are looking for folks who will help us get the word out and help sponsor some of that effort. But you can't expect we'll come back to you once the report is released with any funds we determine we need in order to get that word out and perhaps to help implement some of the policy in Oakland County.
Thank you. Any other questions? I know we've talked about gun violence for so long, it's nice to see there's some action. All right, would you prompt the vote, please?
Chair.
Oh, we didn't do the
Hello,
second
Commissioner
item.
Powell.
That's what I was asking.
Hi, I was just calling to let you know I'm on virtually. I just got on, and I'm in Pontiac.
Well, thank you. By virtual,
Yes, by
it's
virtual.
observation only. You're not able to vote.
Yep, I know, but I've been informed before when I did this. I needed to at least say virtual attending and where I was at, but I know the rule. So thank you.
Thank you. You're still an observer. You won't be able to vote.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yep,
Thank you.
got it. Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, thank you. All right, we discussed the forfeiture funds. The next item is acceptance from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services for the anti-terrorism emergency assistance. Will you say a few words about that?
Yeah, good morning. Betsy and I are here, but this is Mary Larkin, who's the head of our victim services section, can address that.
Thank you.
Thank you, David. Good morning, everybody. I am Mary Larkin. I'm the victim services leader in the prosecutor's office, and we are here today asking for continuation of grant funding through the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services in the matter of the Oxford High School shooting case. This grant began last year, and this is a continuation. It partially funds one victim advocate position as well as a support staff individual to help meet the needs of the very complex and demanding case involvement in the Oxford case. I'm sure you're aware, in addition to the 4 deceased students and the 7 injured individuals, it also involves providing notification and court services to approximately 1,800 other individuals who are victims of the terrorism charge in this case. Anybody who was present in the school, including students, staff, and faculty. So it takes a tremendous amount of involvement on our part, and we greatly appreciate the grant and being able to reach more people this way, more victims. We do provide 4 components of services. One is keeping victims notified, what's happening in the court case. And we do that in part with the benefit of a program developed by Information Technology for us that allows us to blast out case information when there's a development in court. It's extremely effective to get victims promptly notified of developments in the case. It also allows us to have personal accompaniment when victims come to court on this case. We have victim advocates who meet them and explain the court process to them and offer emotional support. We're also very active in helping victims be reimbursed for any out-of-pocket expenses that they have, especially for mental health treatment. They may have co-pays and deductibles, and our advocates assist by helping the victims tie into resources. One of them is through Oakland County Health Network, also through Crime Victims Compensation through the state if they were injured. And then we also make referrals for mental health treatment or follow-up. So we appreciate your consideration of this grant continuation. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. So it's a continuation of the partial reimbursement for a full-time advocate position and a part-time office support position.
That is correct.
Thank you. Any questions? All right, will you prompt the vote, please?
You have 5 yeas, 0 nays.
Motion carries. All right, thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next 5 items are from the Sheriff's Office. The first is an application to the Department of Justice for the DNA Capacity Enhancement and Backlog Reduction Program. I have a motion by Commissioner Gershenson, support from Commissioner Joliet, and welcome to our Undersheriff and Guy up here.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So are we doing them all together or one by one?
We'll go one by one.
Okay. All right, so the first one is our annual application, continuation of our CBER program, which is the DNA backlog program. It continues 3 full-time lab analysts. It provides for some equipment replacement and also some training. At the time of application, our backlog was approximately 422 cases.
Any questions on this item? All right, so we're still working on the backlog?
Yes, so that's what these positions are dedicated to, eliminating that.
Well, that sounds good, we're working on it.
Slowly but surely.
All right, should we, I was gonna go one at a time. We're voting on this? All right.
You
prompt
said
the
one at
vote,
a time,
please.
I'm sorry.
No, that's all right.
That's what I thought you meant.
I can confuse myself.
Mine isn't coming up yay for me.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. You have 5 yeas, 0 nays.
Motion carries, thank you. Our next item is the application for the Law Enforcement Mental Health and Wellness Act. I have a motion by Commissioner Gershenson, support from Commissioner Joliet.
Okay, this is our second attempt at applying for this grant funding. We applied last year and did not receive funding, but it's almost $200,000 focused on officer wellness, primarily for a peer support software application and some overtime to train and implement that software.
What does the software do?
It's an app, so they can, I think it's a communication app, and
Right here.
right here?
It is a communication app so that people can, they can appear.
This is Lieutenant Workman. He works in our training unit.
It is an app that the peer support group, for lack of better words, counselors can use with people in department, confidentiality and things like that. They can use that app to communicate back and forth. I'll be honest, I don't have a ton of information on it because Captain Hill is working on that project, but that is my understanding so that it can be used to better communicate with the people in a confidential manner.
That makes sense, thank you. All right, any other questions? Commissioner Cavell?
How many counselors are there helping our deputies?
I don't know if you have access to it. We have an email. I can get you the spreadsheet of who are, a total number. I don't have it with me.
Okay.
They're all internal peer support counselors. I use that term lightly. They're
Yes,
not
volunteers.
counselors, yeah. They're volunteers. They're not
Peers.
trained
Gotcha.
counselors.
Okay.
All right, prompt the vote, please. All right, next item, oh, I'm
Yes.
sorry.
5 yeas, 0 nays.
All right, motion carries, thank you. Our next item is acceptance of the Michigan Economic Development Corporation Enhancement Program. I have a motion by Commissioner Gershenson and support from Commissioner Joliet.
Okay, so this is kind of exciting. This is first-time funding. We got an award from the MEDC for marine funding of $250,000. So obviously, this has been a big topic over the last several years, and this grant will provide for just a little over $145,000 at marine patrols, almost $80,000 for some boats, and motor pool costs, and some maintenance supplies.
It's nice to hear, thank you.
Absolutely,
I know
yes.
you've worked long and hard on this one. Commissioner Cavell?
Yeah, I wish Kristen was here.
I do
know.
too. I know. That's what I was thinking.
The MEDC, that I saw that when I was studying for this, and I went, I didn't know they did that. I mean,
Sergeant Burwell is amazing. His outreach and his initiative, he is in contact with everybody, and
So he
this is
worked
the
it.
result of it, yes, so.
Okay, cool.
Commissioner Joliet?
Lakes are near and dear to my heart. So how will this, will this expand your current Marine Patrol that you have?
Yes, what we've tried to do is look at the staffing that we've been able to do. So 2 years ago, we had a slow, no-wait grant that was only for a year.
Okay.
Last year, as you know, the board provided some additional funding for patrols. We hope this year, this will take the place of both of those, and then hopefully we can push the board funding for future years, that we'll only have the capacity for this, but it will mirror what we did last year.
Okay.
And then if we have the staffing, we can go over above and beyond, but it'll just depend on the
So
levels
those
of staffing.
holiday
Yes.
weekends based on the large, okay. All right, thank you.
Commissioner Gershenson?
Is this the effort, is this mostly due to the effort of Senator Rosemary Bear? Is this the one?
Yes, this is the
Yeah.
one, yes.
Okay, just
Mhm.
wanted to give her a shout out.
Yes.
Commissioner Cavell?
You mentioned the board funding. Is that the $50,000 a year for 3 years, or it's?
Yes, well,
Okay.
yes, so we were going to come back with another resolution
Okay.
and decided not to because we didn't think that we could fill all the hours with that additional 50,000, and then this will cover that. So
Cool.
what we would probably do is push that request to next year if possible.
Understood. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right, prompt the vote, please.
You have 5 yeas, 0 nays.
Motion carries. Our next item is acceptance of one support canine dog, Georgie. The motion by Commissioner Joliet, support from Commissioner Gershenson.
Okay, we have another therapy canine named Georgie and assigned at the Lyon Township Substation, so we're asking for your acceptance of this donation, please.
Thank you. Any comments? All right, prompt the vote, please.
Any
5 yeas, 0 nays.
Motion carries. Our last item from the Sheriff's Department is a continuation of positions for countywide active assailant incident training 2-year pilot program. Who wants to make a motion? Commissioner Joliet, support from Commissioner Jackson.
Okay, so this, it was it's continuation funding the second year of our pilot program that was in response to the Oxford incident. It continues 3 Deputy 2 positions. The original resolution required us to provide training stats, which we have provided to the board, and they're also included with the item. And we were required to come back for the second year of funding. And so that's what we're here for.
Thank you. Any questions? Commissioner Cavell?
If I remember right from this, one of the things we all talked about was how to prioritize or where to prioritize private businesses over like public spaces and religious facilities. So how did that work out in the implementation in year one?
Worked out great. We don't prioritize businesses at all. Frankly, we don't have time to do businesses, even if we wanted to. I think there's a couple that had some connection with the county. But if you look at the spreadsheet I provided, I would say 99.99% are either daycare centers, schools, churches, or other religious establishments. We've done bus training, Stop the Bleed, all kinds of stuff using those two positions. And then we have another person attached to the training unit that supplements. So there's 3 guys that are basically doing all of this training for the county-wide. And as you can see, we touched over 9,000 people last year with this training in less than a year.
Understood. Okay, thank you. And then I noticed you're right up, Lieutenant Workman, that you had this great last paragraph. And so just because you're here.
I don't remember what I wrote, so I will fall back on what I wrote.
The civic clerk process, it was a couple months ago. I know. But the last thing you said was, yes, we should continue this program. Okay, cool. But additional spaces where Board of Commissioners could work in partnership with OXO to affect additional positive change. So then here's the cool part that piqued my interest. Those spaces include additional resources in the areas of mental health response, response to resistance training and investigations, de-escalation, community policing engagement. I mean, can you give us some ideas on how we could work together on de-escalation,
in the areas,
crisis, mental health response and all that? Yeah.
Areas of mental health response, I would say, and you and I have had long conversations about core responders, adding more core reps.
With Marcia?
With Marcia, for sure. Talk about response to resistance, de-escalation. Those are kind of combined. Understanding force encounters, things like that. Training our deputies on de-escalation. We have, there's always the room for additional de-escalation equipment, training scenario equipment, which I believe we have other grants that are coming forward to this board as far as officer wellness, which I think is a total officer approach to reducing response, resistance, and de-escalation. So I would think that is part of it. And then as far as community policing engagement, that I've ran I'm involved in 2 different grant-funded programs specifically designed to have community outreach where we get buy-in and ideas from the community on how we can be better as a sheriff's office, and those have been pretty successful. So those would be the instances.
Cool.
Thank you. All right, prompt the vote, please.
Good thing you had this.
5 yeas, 0 nays. Motion carries. Thank you. Thanks for joining us today. All right, we move on to our Health and Human Services recommendation. The first item is an agreement between Oakland County and Honor Community Health. And the second is acceptance of the Housing Education Program from the Michigan State Housing Development Authority. Housing. So we have, yes. Motion by Commissioner Gershenson, support from Commissioner Cavell. And we have Leanne Stafford and Shane, are you here on the first item? The agreement between Oakland County and Honor Community Health?
I'm here on the second item. I can turn my camera off until we get to the second item if you'd like.
Oh, you're fine. All right, Leanne, what do you want to tell us about the agreement?
Good morning. So this is a subrecipient with Honor Community Health. They are going to assist us in screening and referring people to our nutrition program, produce prescription for health program. So we see someone in the community really engaging with our community members to get them enrolled, and even with our physicians and SNAP and Medicaid residents will be very beneficial. So we are looking to hire a community health worker that Honor will hire the community health worker and work with us on this grant.
Thank you. Any questions regarding the nutrition items? So the grant's for $20,000. Okay, it's described as a produce prescription grant program. But we can talk later. Do we still have our prescription program? Our
The mental health prescription program?
No, a drug prescription program.
No, you know what? Let me look into that. I do not think we have that funding any longer.
Okay.
But I will look into it and get back to you. I'll send you an email directly on that.
All right, thank you. Any questions regarding the nutrition grant? All right, our next item is with Shane, acceptance of the housing information. I have a motion by Commissioner Cavell, support from Commissioner Gershenson. All right, Shane, what do you want to talk about?
Yeah, this is a grant we get annually for the Michigan State Housing Development Authority that helps to support our housing counselors. We have 2 full-time housing counselors and 1 full-time housing counseling supervisor. Their salaries and fringes and services are in part supported by our regular annual CDBG grant, as well as the Michigan State Housing Development Authority Housing Education Program grant, which is what is acceptance is in front of you today. We get this every year, and it's to help them support individuals who might be requesting housing education sessions. From everything from pre-purchasing counseling to reverse mortgage counseling to other types of counseling for housing purposes. So that's what we have there.
All right, thank you. So it's $18,000 to facilitate housing education. Okay,
yes.
Perfect. Any questions? All right, will you prompt the vote for our health and human service recommendations?
You have 5 yeas, 0 nays.
Motion carries. Thank you both.
Thank you.
Our next item is from emergency management recommendations. Memorandum of understanding between Oakland County and FEMA for the Integrated Public Alert and Warning System Program. I have a motion by Commissioner Gershenson, support from Commissioner Jackson. And no, we have 2 people here. Mr. Seeley, who else do you have?
Hello, I'm Mike Kamenek. I'm an emergency management specialist with the division.
Thank you. Welcome.
Hello.
Hello.
So, Commissioners, the Integrated Public Alert and Warning System is our way to notify the public when we have a storm or another natural event that comes through the county. This is an agreement to use that system from FEMA. It's a federal system. Every county in the nation uses the system. But we are required every 3 years to renew that agreement with FEMA, and that's what this is.
Thank you.
We expire actually on the 23rd of this month, so.
Okay. Any questions regarding this item? All right, prompt the vote, please.
Five yeas, 0 nays.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners.
That was easy enough. Our last scheduled item is a public service recommendation and acceptance from the Michigan Department of Education for the 22-23 Child Nutrition Program. I have a motion by Commissioner Jackson, support from Commissioner Joliet. And looks like Heather and Lori are here to talk about this item.
Good morning. How are you today? You guys are moving right along today.
Yay.
Well, we started
So Lori and I,
8:30.
yes. So Lori and I are here today to present the grant acceptance for the Child Nutrition Program grant. And so we have applied and been awarded that National School Lunch Program, After School Snack and School Breakfast Program grant along with the Child and Adult Care Food Program grant. We've been applying for this grant for more than a decade and receiving it. Previously, we would have had to complete these grant applications separately and present them to you separately, but MDE decided to combine everything for efficiency this year. So although the amount is projected, because the meal claims do vary, we anticipate it to be approximately $219,000 this year, which is right kind of in line with what we got last year, which was $218,000. It does cover breakfast, lunch, and after-school snacks for all programs on campus.
Thank you. Any questions? All right, prompt the vote, please.
Five yeas, 0 nays.
All right, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
We are on to our last public comment of the day. 3 minutes to talk about anything. Is there anyone from the public wishing to comment? All right, public comment, sure?
I guess. Oh, and it's too bad all of our friends have left. So this is Trina again, from Royal Oak still. And I just want to say that it's really interesting for me to sit here listening to how often each of these item areas refer to Oxford and gun violence. And I just want to say, I have one of those kids that could get the gun and cause the problem. We're not getting what we need to prevent it in the first place. My kid has 3 plans: an IEP at school, a wraparound plan, an IPASS. Nobody talks to each other. Right? So I got the schools. I mean, the schools have already called me a couple times today. I don't even answer the phone half the time. They don't make him go to school. He wanders around all day. Right? We get home. I've been texting the wraparound worker while I'm here because, you know, it's a brand new worker. She's never even been to a school meeting. Yet my kid has 4-hour IEPs meetings. And this is supposed to be our advocate, right, for complicated IEPs. So this is the plan that OCHN has, right? So instead of using Oakland schools, we're going to use Easter Seals and Oakland Family Services to help advocate for our kids when they can't even barely find therapists that understand trauma and can actually work with our kids, right? And yet we're talking about how much money we want to allocate to gun violence prevention and all of these other things. What we're saying is our kids, right? Like, we want to make sure our kids don't get access to guns, don't get access to these things. But we can't do it on our own, right? I can't give my kid a shot in my home that turns him into a zombie. I can't lock up my child, right? CPS gets called. I can't wait for 3 weeks in an emergency room waiting for a placement. I have another child. The hospital called CPS on Shayna because she left for the night.
We were there for 33 days.
So, right, like, and this, it really squarely lands on your all's accountability to watching how this money is spent by OCHN, right? I get that the money comes from the state, but I want us to figure out a different plan, because otherwise, right, we still have kids all day, every day that have a lot of issues in our schools that are going to find ways to hurt other kids and hurt our communities. So what do we do? Because OCHN is not getting it done. Our schools are not getting it done. So how do we create some sort of accountability?
All right, thank you. Anyone else for public comment?
I guess I'll go again. That's exactly what I've been whispering to her for the past 2 hours. Hi, I'm Shayna. We've spoken before. Hi, I'm still Shayna that lives in Ferndale. So again, to repeat myself, to mirror what Trina was saying, my daughter can very well kill me. there might very well come a time where my daughter finds a gun and kills me or kills herself. And as I watch the news of Oxford, as I watch the news from Parkland or anywhere, I think to myself, my daughter's little, and I'm trying everything to not make her a killer, to not make her kill herself, a child, a teacher, a random person on the street that she's mad at. And again, the services that Oakland County has provided my daughter are not enough. Or else, like I said, we wouldn't have been in the hospital waiting 33 days to get my child into a psychiatric facility. We wouldn't go to the hospital for them to say, nowhere will take her because she's violent, so you have to go home. And then end up back there and say, she's too violent, so go to Children's Village. She's too violent, so arrest her at 9. So yes, money should be allocated to stop gun violence. Of course, I live in Ferndale. I'm sure you can surmise my viewpoint. But how, without Oakland County's help in terms of assisting my child acclimate into society, how do I stop my child from killing me or killing someone at school? And then getting maybe arrested myself for not watching her. So of course, money should be allocated to stop a shooter. But what about allocating funds to stop my child from becoming a killer? And that's where there's a massive disconnect. And that's what I'm hearing, is that there's a massive disconnect between let's be punitive and punish the kid that killed someone at school, instead of stop the child. My kid is little. Stop my little kid from being able to eventually kill someone at Oxford High School. And that's just what I bring to you as a parent that hopefully is never on the news. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else for public comment? All right, public comment is closed, and I will adjourn this meeting at 12.
Wait, other business and now.
Oh, you have other
Yeah, I
business?
do. I have
You are the
to do.
first.
I just wanted to say to both of you, I wanted to thank you for coming. This is not something that we normally deal with, but we do hear you. We don't respond, it's just a rule in public comment. But we can have a conversation with OCHN. We can try to look into it a little bit, but it is not something we normally would deal with. But, you know, we do hear you, and we are very concerned about gun violence, but more so for your suffering and your situation, and that you're not feeling heard and you're not getting the answers you need. I certainly can't give them to you, but I can assure you that we do hear you, and that we will try to look into it a little bit.
Yeah, because normally isn't always, right?
What?
Normally, you don't normally deal with it.
You could. No, I can't, okay. So that's,
Thank you.
I just wanted to.
Thank you, I appreciate it, thank you.
All right, thank you. This meeting is adjourned at 12:05 PM. All right.